Hey, what's up? My name's Fredo and I'm from F8. Now, before I do this podcast, what I want to do is I want to properly introduce myself, the team F8, and the members of F8. And the reason for this is because I plan on this podcast to go for quite a while. I'm hoping, I have my fingers crossed. Is it going to happen? Who knows? But essentially, what I want to do is I want to give you guys a heads up of who I am so that you guys don't get lost within the podcast, because I want you guys to listen and then to know who you're listening to. Now, a little bit about myself. I'm no one famous, okay? I'm just an up-and-coming beat maker who's turning his hobby into a passion, okay? I've been making beats for about 10 years now, December of 2004. So I just made my 10 years. And I've been mixing tracks for about 8 years, recording for about 4 years. And another thing about myself is that I have a bachelor's in graphic design, marketing, and advertising. So the reason I got into making beats was because I used to be a rapper when I was in middle school, right? This is around the same time that Eminem's 8 Mile came out, and then a baby boomer of like rappers just emerged, right? Well, my style wasn't necessarily what was in or what was hot. At the time, you had 50 Cent, you had Paul Wall, and you had like all these, either gangster rappers or money rappers. And I didn't rap about that. I rapped about how I felt, emotions, things like that. So I was like an emo rapper at the time. And nobody wanted to hear my stuff. And then what made it more difficult was I tried to rap on beats, but all I could find online were just, commercial beats, radio beats, and they didn't fit my style. So someone mentioned in high school, hey, listen, there's a program out there called Fruity Loops. I can give you a copy and you can make your own beats. And then from there, it was like a snowball effect. I made the first beat and it sounded crazy. It sounded like a rubber band just flicking, and then, just weird drums. But I liked it. And ever since then, I've been making beats. And now what I decided to do was want to turn it into an actual passion. I want to turn it into a career. So the thing about me is that when I was in high school, I really loved music. All I wanted to do was produce. And I told myself, when I graduate high school, I'm not going to go to college. All I'm going to do is I want to focus a year on music. That's all I want to do, is just 1 year. Nope. 2 weeks after I graduated, I ended up going to the Art Institute of California, majoring in graphic design. Then I said, I'm not going to get a bachelor's. All I'm going to do is I'm going to get an associate's, and then I'm going to go and start studying recording and audio engineering. I want to do music. No, I didn't stay around for the associates. I ended up going for my bachelor's. And at times I was going to quit. I said, you know what? I'm going to drop out. I'm going to do music. That didn't happen. I ended up getting my bachelor's. And when I told myself, if I graduate, I'm not going to get a job. I'm going to focus on music. Well, I ended up getting 5 job offers graduation day. And I said, well, looks like I'm getting a job. So I got a job. And the job was really chill. It was great. I'm good at it. People told me I was good at it. And then I told myself, I really want to do music. And I was going to quit. But I didn't. I backed down. And then I started going through like this quarter life crisis. If you don't know what a quarter life crisis is, you've heard of a midlife crisis, right? And a midlife crisis is, oh no, what have I done with my life? A quarter life crisis is, oh no, what am I gonna do with my life? That's what was happening. So it wasn't until December of 2014 that I decided to quit my job. Okay, I paid off all my debt. I saved enough for 4 months. I said, I'm gonna quit my job. I'm gonna focus on music for 1 year. And I specifically made this task or made it hard for myself where I can't go past 4 months without actually making money off of music. And if I can't make money off of music, then I go back to work. And the reason for this was because I didn't want to be 50. I didn't want to be 45, struggling with myself, with my inner self, and saying, man, I wish I would have done music. I regret not taking it. now is my chance. I don't have major debts. Okay, I don't have kids. I don't have a wife. I don't have like these house payments, right? So I need to do it now while I still can, because I don't want to regret it when I'm older. And now, the thing about F8 was, when I was in high school, I decided to create like a production company name, right? And at the time, it was popular to add your name and then the word productions at the end of your producer name, beatmaker name. So mine was Fredo Productions. But it just kept sounding weird every time I had to introduce myself. Like, if someone introduced you to a rapper, you'd be like, hey, what's up? I'm Fredo from Fredo Productions. Okay, and it just got awkward and I didn't like it. So what I ended up doing was I ended up getting my initial from my name, right, which is the letter F, and then my favorite number. I am obsessed with the number 8. So I ended up putting F8 Productions. In the end, when I started, promoting online, I didn't really like how I wasn't unique, because every time I typed it in, all I kept seeing were F8 Productions, F8 Studios, F8 Photography. Some people kept pronouncing it as Fate. So I ended up taking the Eminem approach, where, if you don't know, what happened was he got his name Marshall Mathers, he got his 2 initials M and M, and then he just spelled it out, Eminem, right? Eminem. So I decided to do the same thing. And instead of spelling it out Efeight, I didn't like the G and the H. I don't know, something about, the way the E is written, the E and the F's look almost the same, capitalized. The I, it just looks solid by itself. The I and the T look the way, look solid. But I didn't like the G and the H, so I just decided to take them out, and I got Efeit. And what I wanted to do was, I wanted to create a team of producers. I didn't know anyone at the time. I was the only producer I knew. At the time I had a rapper friend. Me and him were making tracks. But I wanted to create a team of producers. And I think it was 2009 when I met Nash through a website called Dope Tracks. And Dope Tracks was a place where you would upload your music and you would comment and you would say, hey, I like your stuff. It felt like it was going to be the SoundCloud that we know today, but it never got there. So Nash hit me up. He liked my style. I liked his. And I told him about this team idea that I had. And he liked it. He goes, yeah, for sure, I'm for it. So we started, we only collaborated once. But the thing is that we have we have different styles, but our production level is on point. It's always been the same. We've had the same idea. About a year later, he introduced me to Rat Chopper. And Rat Chopper is classically trained. His music is very soulful, very chill, right? And then I told him about my idea for the team, a production team. He goes, yeah, I'm for it. So that was initially the 3 of us. And at the time, I was also posting up on other websites trying to get my name and F8's name out there. So I ended up getting, I ended up posting on a website called Rock Battle. And there was this one person I met in Rock Battle who invited me to be a part of his team. And I said to myself, well, it's not wrong if I have my own team, but also am involved in another team, right? I started thinking it as clubs in high school, right? You're part of the AV club or you're part of the chess club. Why can't you be both, right? Like that taco girl. Why not both? So I told him, yeah, for sure. And I think at the time, his name was Lil Prince. And he ended up creating a team inside that website called the Bakers or the Bakery. I can't remember. But I can't remember what happened after that. My mind's a blur. But I think the group split up or he left, or I can't remember exactly what happened, and I lost touch with him. And I thought I'd never get in contact with him again. It wasn't until I think it was last year or 2013 where he hit me up again. So this was almost 7 years afterwards, 7 or a good 6, He hit me up and he goes, hey, listen, do you remember me? And I was like, no, because the name was Matt. I was like, I don't know any Matt. He goes, hey, it's me, Lil Prince. And I was like, oh shit, hey, what's up, man? How have you been? And we caught up, and he goes by Stayotic now. I found out he lives in Australia. I told him about this team, and he goes, yeah, I want to be a part of it. He has his own team too, called the 808 Fiends. So he's affiliated with F8, and he's also a part of F8. And what I'm trying to do is I want to get people out here to be part of a team to supply artists with specific needs, So just to recap, it's me, Fredo, Nash, Rat Chopper, and Stayotic. And we're all part of F8, an international team of producers. Enjoy. Hey, what's up? You just listened to a beat I made a while back called Close to Despair. It's a free download. Go check it out on our website called f8music.com. That's EFEIT music.com. Like I said, free download. You can either download it via SoundCloud on our SoundCloud page, or you can go to our website. No need to purchase it. If you do want to use it for, an album, get leasing rights for it. If you only want to use it, get exclusive rights for it and things like that. Also, as these podcasts keep going further and further, I want to incorporate our listeners' beats into these podcasts, use them either for intros, breaks, or outros. So if I get any more listeners, start sending them in. Let me know what you think. All right. So welcome to the first episode of the Audio Craftsmen, where I'll be talking about beats, music in general, things like pop, electro, house, hip hop, rap, film scores. I'm a big fan of film scores. Okay, so I don't know. We'll see where it goes. Dabble in VST reviews. Who knows? Anything related to music and beats. That's what I'm for. But first, what is the Audio Craftsman? Well, the Audio Craftsman is a term I coined about 3 or 4 years ago. And essentially, there's an analogy I like to use called the record label analogy. And first, it's what is a record label, right? Depending on who you ask, a record label is essentially a bank. And what they do is they fund an artist, right? They supply the money for the artist. Then the artist has to put out their music in order to pay back the record label plus some, okay? Whether it be in record sales, which, 2014, the only person to go platinum was Taylor Swift. So I don't think that's going to happen. But you can still make money off of it through tours, merchandise, TV spots, syndications, whatever it may be. And these record labels essentially have an A&R who goes and finds an artist, right? So let's say for right now, we'll take an A&R. An A&R stumbles across a SoundCloud page, right? They find this artist and this A&R says to themselves, okay, I like this person. I like this person singing. I like this person's voice. Okay, I'm gonna make them a star. So it gets in contact with them. Next thing you know, they're out there trying to get their contract, right? So the A&R has a singer, and then in order to push them further, he has to make sure that the songs sell, right? Because a good voice isn't just gonna get you nowhere. You gotta make sure that the song is hot. Because there's talented artists all over this world. But if the song isn't hot, guess what? People aren't going to listen to it. At most, you'll be just getting a lot of views on YouTube, maybe a lot of likes on SoundCloud, things like that. So this A&R has to find the right songwriter for this new artist, okay? Now, you can't just get any ordinary songwriter because different songwriters specialize in different areas. As much as some people like to say, oh, well, I do everything. Okay, a jack of all trades, but an ace at none. I don't know. Not really feeling it, right? So you got to make sure that you find the right songwriter for this right artist, okay? Once you have an idea, you got to make sure that you have the right music for it, okay? The right style. What genre are they going to sing, okay? So you got to make sure that the beats or the background music or just the music composition in general fits the lyrics and the singing style of this voice, okay? So you have a track. You have the music, you have the songwriter, and you have the actual artist performing it. But you got to record it. So you got to find the right recording engineer, okay? You want to make sure that certain aspects pop out in different areas, right? So let's say that you want your recordings to really make this person, I don't know, sound chill or sound really harsh, whatever it may be. You got to find the right recording engineer. So once everything's recorded, you got to make sure that the track is mixed properly, right? Because you're going to present it out in the radio, you're going to present it out in the world, and you don't want to serve a shitty track. So you got to make sure it's mixed right. You got to find the right mixing engineer, okay? Once it's mixed, you got to make sure that it's mastered for the album, okay? Then, what do? Well, it's back to the record label. Once you have the album or you have the hit or you have the radio single, whatever it may be, you got to promote it. So the record label funds a promotional marketing team, okay? They make sure that they'll put all their efforts into pushing this song, okay? Okay, we got to get it on the radio. We also got to make sure that we push it online. So they start like this social media campaign. We'll get TV spots. Listen, you're going to go on the Ellen show, right? Or listen, you're going to go on Jimmy Fallon, Jimmy Kimmel. You're going to do an interview. So all these little things a record label has to make sure that everything goes right in order to push this artist because they got to make their money back. And if they don't make their money back, that's why you only have one-hit wonders and then they fade out. Okay? So, essentially all these little different areas, right? An artist, funding, songwriter, beat making, recording, mixing, okay, promotional materials. If one single person does this, I consider them an audio craftsman. Okay? So, let's backtrack a little bit, right? So let's take a different scenario and say, you know, you're listening right now and let's say you're a beat maker, okay? If you're not, just pretend for a minute. So let's say you're a beat maker starting out. You just got a new MacBook Pro, you got a GarageBand, and you start making beats and you're thinking to yourself, man, this is really good. I'm gonna blow up. Dr. Dre, watch out, right? Okay. So what do? Okay, so you start showing it to your friends and they like it. Show it to your family, they like it. Someone mentions, go put it online. That's your first step in promotion. You put it out online. It's not really good because all you do is just post it up online and that's it. You don't even advertise it or nothing like that. Now, in a world where there's hundreds of thousands of beat makers out there, millions of beat makers out there, how do you stand out? How do you, as an up-and-comer beat maker, stand out? Well, let's say everyone's making the same style of music. You start creating a different genre. Okay. Well, if you want your music to stand out, let's say you want to work on your mixing, right? Because for some reason, it sounds great on your laptop, but when you take it out in the car, your bass is just lacking, or it's overpowering, or you can't even hear the snares, or when the chorus hits, everything just gets crazy and muddy, and you don't want that, right? You want to polish your work. So you start looking up on how to mix properly, okay? Then you start finding out that different VSTs, different plugins help with your mixing. Different audio interfaces, right? Different sound cards help with your mixing, okay? So then you got to fund yourself. You got to pay for these VSTs, or you got to pay for these audio interfaces, or you got to pay for your computer or for your headphones or for your speakers. You're funding yourself. You are an artist, a beat maker, and an artist. And you're funding yourself just like a record label would fund an artist. Okay, because you believe in yourself. You truly believe that there's something in you that the world needs to see. So, once you start funding yourself and you start learning how to mix, okay, your beats steadily start becoming a little bit better. Over the years, your beats develop their own style, okay? Your own mixing techniques. Then you got to find a singer and a songwriter because let's say, again, in this competition, right, that everyone starts learning how to mix. So now everyone starts sounding the same in that aspect, not necessarily sound, right? Just everyone's presentation is the same, sound quality. So how do you stand out as someone who's competing against this type of marketplace, right? So you start thinking to yourself, okay, well, what can I do to make sure that an artist hears my beat and they want to purchase my beat, or they want to lease it, or they want to collaborate with me? One thing that happened, I think it was about 2000, like in the early 2000s, right? The early stages of SoundClick was people started providing hooks for their beats, right? Because a rapper would be great with their verses, but something about the hook just wasn't there, right? Or maybe a rapper's just having a writer's block and they can't really pursue that track. Or they hear your beat and they can't really think of anything. So you want to supply a hook to let them know, hey, listen, this is what this beat is about, or this is my inspiration behind this beat. So you start providing a hook for your beats. Let's say you can't write. So you find a songwriter. Or let's say you can't sing. Well, you find a singer. But you provide them the materials for them to create a hook. Okay? Then you start you have a hook on your beat. You finally have a beat with a hook. What do? Well, you start promoting it online, or you start promoting it out there. Okay? You start pushing that track out there. So you start dabbling in more promotional and marketing techniques. Okay? You start figuring out what works, what places do artists respond more to your beat, what websites seem more popular, what style of music rappers seem to go towards to, what type of hooks they seem more attracted to, right? So in this process, you start learning how to promote yourself, okay? Marketing, research. Then let's say you start getting an artist. Let's say an artist hits you up. They're around your area, 5 miles away. They say, hey, listen, I really like your music. I want to collaborate with you. So what do? All right. Well, listen, I don't know how to record, but can you record at your house? You just missed out on an opportunity right there. Okay. If you learn how to record, not only can you make extra money, but you can offer another service and collaborate more in different areas. So you start looking up at different recording techniques. Okay. You know you need a microphone, right? But what type of microphone do you use? Specific microphones are, tailored for kicks, or for drums, for guitars, for vocals. So you got to research about this stuff, okay? And those are the little things that you start doing that puts you over the edge amongst the competition, okay? So you start looking at types of recording techniques, at different types of acoustic treatment, right? Because as you're doing this, the competition is evolving. And they're getting better with their mixing, with their vocals. Now they're starting to record. So then you got to make sure that your vocals sound crisp and clear, or that they sound aggressive and just attacks really hard. Whatever your sound may be, you want to make sure that you get the one up amongst the competition, right? So anyone could go and get a mic. Let's say someone goes to Radio Shack and gets a mic. They go to their house, and then they start recording an artist. If they don't know how to properly isolate a voice, then you're just going to get the sound of the room, or you're going to get the sound of dogs barking, or you're going to get the sound of, a garage door opening, whatever it may be. And you want to avoid that because you really care about your work, and you really want to polish your work, and you want to present your work in a professional manner. Am I right or am I wrong? You don't want to put shitty shit out there, right? So once you start learning about different miking techniques, different acoustic treatment procedures, or how to properly isolate a booth or create a booth or whatever it may be, you start learning how to mix and master a track, because you have the vocals, okay, and mixing a beat just by itself, but then also mixing an actual song with lyrics on it is completely different. Because as a beat maker, you're more biased to mix the beat and really think of the vocals as secondary, because that's your work and you're not necessarily paying attention to the artist. So sometimes you'll mix and your vocals are ducking under the beat, or the beat is just overpowering and you could barely hear what this person's saying. So you want to work on your mixing and mastering, okay? And then you got to promote yourself, okay? Because let's say now everyone's stepping up their game in this competition. Again, it's growing. So everyone's working on their mixing and mastering, their recording techniques, right? They're funding themselves as well. They're making money off of this. But what can you offer that they don't? So that's the way you got to promote yourself. You got to brand yourself. The same way a record label hires a promotional and marketing team to brand an artist and to get their image out there, you got to do that yourself. And all of these things, right? Let me recap. You're starting off as a beat maker, okay? So how do you stand out, right? So you got to fund yourself. You got to mix. You got to learn how to mix. Now you're doing the job of a mixing engineer. You either make a hook or you get someone that knows how to make a hook, okay? Then you got to promote yourself online. You start learning about all these different recording techniques. Now you're performing the job of a recording engineer. Then you know how to mix and master albums. And you start promoting yourself again online. You're creating an image of yourself. You're creating a persona, you know? So when they hear this name, they automatically know what you're about. And all of these things is what I consider an audio craftsman. Is this one person does all of these things to their full extent. They may not excel in some areas, but they take every aspect of this audio production seriously. And to me, there's a difference between a producer and then someone who gets, you know, like an A&R who hires different people to do the job. You know, the only difference between you and an A&R is the difference between an audio craftsman and an A&R, because an A&R will hire different people to do the job, but you don't have that budget. You don't have that luxury. You can only fund yourself to an extent. So you start learning how to do all these different tasks, and that's an audio craftsman. So I'm gonna take a quick break right now, and when I come back, I want to talk to you about some competition things and the endless cycle about whether you sound unique or whether you sound fresh. Are you gonna get picked up? Who knows? All right, later.
Welcome to the jungle, bitch! To the jungle, bitch! To the jungle, bitch! Put your drinks up! Put your drinks up! Welcome to the jungle, bitch!
And I'm back. You just listened to a beat called Welcome to the Jungle, produced by Stayotic, out there in Australia, also a member of F8. Go check them out. A link will be in the description on our website, podcast.f8music.com. So, one thing I really wanted to talk about was competitions. One of the experiences I had with a sponsored competition, and what happened towards the end, I'll get through the story, but what happened towards the end made me think about this endless cycle where beat makers want to be famous, or they want to be picked up by a record label. But something about one of these judges, what they told me, made me feel like no matter what a beat maker's gonna do, it's almost like that's never gonna happen. Okay. So 3 years ago, in 2012, there was I received a letter from one of these beat battle websites, right? Rockbattle.com. And in that letter, they told me that, they liked my work and that they wanted me to submit beats to their website, and that if they liked it, that I could participate in a sponsored showcase, a producer showcase, which if you were to win that showcase, right, that you could move on to a bigger competition called Beast of the Beats, I believe. And this competition is sponsored by Native Instruments, Monster Energy Drink. I can't remember the other ones. But so to me, I thought it was a huge deal, right? Because I've been doing local competitions. I've been doing online battles. I've won one where it was sponsored by Reason. And so I thought, okay, cool, this is going to be a step up. So now I'm not one to leave my team behind, right? Like, I'm not going to be that type of person that says, all right, well, here's my opportunity, I'm going to leave. I told them, I was like, listen, if I'm going to go, I want to represent my team. Can my team participate? They said, yeah, for sure. That's no problem. Okay, cool. So the way this format is set up, right, is you have to showcase 5 beats. Each beat has to be around a minute long. It could be a minute, 10 seconds, but it can't be more than that. And the way it works is they're going to have 3 judges judging every participant in that, in that local showcase. And they're going to rate you from 0 to 10. 10 being professional, like, why aren't you signed yet? 0 is throw your computer away, burn it, stop making music, find something else. Music is not for you. Okay. 5 is, you're average, you're up and comer. So just to give you an idea of like how they're viewing it, the questions are, is it marketable? Okay. Is your work, can it be sold? Is it mixed professionally? Do you hear it on the radio? And is it unique? And I forgot the last one. There's like 5 questions, right? And each question, you can get a total of 10 points for each question. And for every judge, a maximum of 50 points. So 3 judges equals 150 points. So the first year I went to was a great experience. I'm not gonna lie. It was pretty good because we got to meet people that I would have never met just by being online. Not only do you get to meet people from your area, but you also get to meet those producers and the people that those producers brought. So the exposure is really good. The networking is really good. Now, the way that this competition is set up, or this showcase, is they have this showcase in every city. Well, particular city. So it might be in LA, it might be in San Diego, it might be in Austin, Texas, Atlanta, and so on, right? And every city is on for 2 nights. So the way they have this is, for LA, there were 20 participants. Okay. And they split this group down the middle. So it'd be 10 and 10. And the reason they did this was because they wanted to show 10 people's work for the first night, and then the other 10 people's work for the second night. Now, winners of night 1, who placed in first, second, and third, right, get to go up against the winners of night 2 from that city, who placed first, second, and third. Now, when I heard this, I thought, okay, yeah, that's fine. Even if I place third, I get to go. Well, it turns out that wasn't the case. Turns out that it's only winners of night. It's only people who place first and second place. Now, this might not sound like a big deal, but you're paying $300 for this, so it's pretty expensive. It really makes a dent in your bank account, especially if you're trying to take this from a hobby and pursue it as a career, right? And so $300 is not something to be taken lightly. Now, the reason that they only did first and second place was because second place goes up against second place from first night goes up against second place from night 2, and whoever wins gets third place over the on the overall city. But only the first place winner for both nights, so first place goes up against first place, and whoever wins ends up moving on to the Beast of the Beats. Okay. Now, here's another thing, is that the 3 judges who judged night 1 are not the same judges who judged night 2. Now, you might be talking to yourself, or you might be saying to yourself, okay, well, what does that matter? I don't think there should be an issue. I thought so too. I thought there wouldn't be an issue. But the way it worked was, let's say you have a judge who prefers underground tracks more than Dirty South tracks, or more than trap tracks. So if he prefers underground tracks, he's more likely to be, give that particular producer who showed underground tracks a higher rating or a higher score than the person who produced the trap track. Now, these are supposed to be judges, and they're not supposed to be biased, but they're humans. They can't help it. Now, the first year I went to, I showed some of the work that I've been making for a while, and I thought, okay, this might be radio ready. When they told us the questions, I felt like, yeah, I have a shot. Here's one of the ones I made. So that was one of the beats I made, and like I said, it has to be about a minute long, 1 minute and 10 seconds, right? Now, judging from how they score, I felt like my mix at the time, it wasn't the best at what I believe it could be, but it wasn't shoddy, right? So I felt like, okay, I think I should get a pretty good grade on that. Also, is it marketable? Yeah, it is pretty marketable. I mean, according to the SoundCloud plays and and comments, people who've worked on this beat, they love it. It's very energetic. It gets people moving. So I feel like that's a good start. Can you hear it on the radio? I don't know. Right. Another beat I played at that spot was, let me see if I can find it real quick. So that's another one I made. And one thing about myself is that I can't make commercial beats. I can't make mainstream music. I've been trying for the longest time and I can't do it. I don't know why. I've been studying heavily on it. I've been, I even tried to recreate some of these sounds. And although I get pretty close, once I try to make it my own, something about it just doesn't happen, right? So the reason I showed you these beats is just to get an idea of where I'm coming from, because of what the judge said. You get to understand what his feedback was, right? So once I showed all 5 of my beats, the judge then critiqued each beat. One producer there, his name was Robert Bobby Bass LaRoe. He's done stuff for Beyonce. He's done stuff for Pitbull. He's done stuff for, I believe, Britney. He's a big name. He's from Orange Factory Music. And he really liked my work. After the show, he told me, hey, would you like to show me some more of your work? And maybe we might collaborate in the future. The only problem is that, that electro that you heard, I can't do it. I can't, that's like a fluke. Once in a great while it happens. So nothing ever happened from that. But after I showcased my 5 beats, they told me, listen, you sound unique. It sounds like it might be marketable, but we just don't hear it on the radio. So when an industry professional tells you this, you start feeling, okay, well, don't take it as an attack. He just doesn't hear it on the radio. Okay, so what can I do to make it better? And they gave positive feedback the first year. I loved it, right? I didn't place third, I didn't place second or first, but I did get contacts and some collaborations after that. So that was great. That's what made me go back the second year. But here's what happened in the second year. Is that when I went again for the 5 beats, this time I decided to bring my team along, right? Because I think I said that I decided to bring the team for the first year, but no, that was incorrect. It was only me for the first year, and then I decided to bring the team the second year. And so they said, yeah, for sure, you could bring your team. Okay, so this time I told my team, listen, this is what they're looking for. This is how they're gonna judge us. They need to make sure that it's industry level tracks. And I told them all the questions so that they can prepare. So we had a whole year, and as much as I tried, I still couldn't do it. So I let my team know beforehand. I told them, listen, if anything, I'm gonna struggle. I said, so you guys have to carry me on this one. I said, I'll pay you the $300. I'll put in 1 track, but you guys are gonna be on the spotlight. So we go in, we present our first track, and I believe the first track was this one.
Into the dark, into the light. It's not a game.
So that's the first one we played, and you could really feel it. The guy had his one of the judges had his hood over it, and he it seemed like all he was doing was just paying attention but not necessarily expressing any emotions, right? So we started off with one of our strongest tracks, and then we played one of Rat Chopper's tracks. So the one you just heard was actually produced by Nash. Now I'm gonna play you one of Rat Chopper's, and I believe it might have been this one. So that's the second one we played, and the judge was feeling it. He was really feeling into it. Now, the way we set up our 5 beats was we wanted to present it in the best possible case. So we decided to start strong and then have the weakest one in the middle, so that'd be the third beat we played, and then have it strong again towards the end, so it'd either be 4 or 5th, right? So what we decided to do was have mine in the middle, and this was actually the one I played. So that was the third one, and our reason behind it was that if we didn't want to start off weak and we didn't want to end weak, because we didn't want them to think that all we had were only 4 great beats. So since I admitted it, mine was the weakest one, so I decided to put it in the middle, almost hiding it amongst the rest, and it worked pretty well. But you know, they still said that one was pretty weak, and I agreed. The 4th beat, this is the one that we decided to play. No, sorry, actually it's this one. So that was the 4th beat, and as soon as we played this one, now if you remember, we only have a minute long, right? So half of that minute, 30 seconds, was only piano. And so the host, he looked at me and he goes, "Man, this better be hard because it's only a piano and you're lagging it, right?" So as soon as that beat dropped, the judge who had it, the judge who had his hood over and he was showing no expression throughout the competition, he pulled it back and he looked at me and he looked like, "That's it. That's a hit. That's a banger," right? And then as soon as the minute ended, he looked at me like I've made a mistake. He kept saying like, "What are you doing? What are you doing? Where's the rest? Why did you cut it short?" And I started thinking like, "What do you mean why? Because we only had a minute. Don't you know this?" But he just kept insisting. He kept saying, "Oh, no. You should have kept going." And I was like, "But we only have a minute, right?" So I didn't think about it much at the time until after the competition. Not after the competition, after the set. And so when he was still feeling this one, they decided to go ahead and play one of Nash. The one you just heard right now was actually produced by Rat Chopper, and this one was actually by Nash. So that was the last beat we played. But while this one was still playing, the judge just kept shaking his head like I made a huge mistake because I cut it short. And while the last beat is playing, the other two judges are really feeling it, right? But this judge, since he was so focused on the previous beat, he didn't really get to soak in this last beat in. All he just kept saying was like, no, you should have kept letting it play. And so they start judging us, right? They start critiquing and they start saying, because I told them about my team. I told them about how these guys are over in Tunisia. And everyone asked the same thing, like, where's that? And I try to tell him, I was like, it's like in Northern Africa, it's like by Egypt. Just think of that area. It's over there. And he goes, once the set was over, he goes, this guy's doing big things. Everyone, if you work with your local artist or you work with someone on the other state, that's fine. But if you work with someone overseas, that's the big thing, because now you're working with people who you would have never met and you're taking technology to your advantage. Okay. So I felt like we were going to get pretty good reviews, but this is the whole reason I'm telling you this story is because he mentioned that one of our beats was copying Lex Luger. Okay. Now, if you guys don't know who Lex Luger is, I'm going to play you a little clip right now. And then you guys let me know if we sound like Lex Luger. So here's a track called Fuck This Industry by Waka Flocka. It was produced by Lex Luger, but I got the instrumental. So I'm not gonna play the whole thing because the whole thing is like 6 minutes long. I'll only play you a minute. So what happened is that he heard the first beat we played, which was called Into the Dark, which, by the way, is also available as a free download over on our website at fatemusic.com. I have to plug it in. What the fuck? Anyways, so he heard the beat Nash made, and he said that we were copying Lex Luger. And this is the beat he's talking about. And if you don't remember, here's how it sounds. I'm gonna fast forward it.
Focus.
So he heard that beat and he said that we were copying Lex Luger. And at this point I'm thinking like, no, we don't. We sound nothing like Lex Luger. And then he made his point is that because it's trap. So just think about that for a minute. Okay, let it soak in. Is that he heard a genre and automatically associated that with someone who does that genre. In this case, Lex Luger. And I thought that was a stupid thing to say because I'm thinking, so if I make a West Coast beat, what, I'm copying Dr. Dre? If I make a Dirty South beat, what, I'm copying Little John? You know what I mean? Like, that's ridiculous. It's a genre. You know, if I make a rock track, what, I'm copying the Beatles? I'm copying the Foo Fighters? Like, what the fuck are you talking about? And he goes, yeah, he does trap too. Oh my God. So I'm saying this, and then he starts talking about the track that he really felt, and this is where he kept going on about how we cut it short and everything like that. So the track he really felt was Rat Choppers, and I'll play you a little clip again. So that's the one he really enjoyed. But he said that we were copying Timberland. Now I don't know if you guys caught this, but in that beat right there, Rat Chopper decided to record his own beatbox elements. He didn't use samples. He didn't cut them up from somewhere else and then use them. He recorded them himself and he applied them to this track. So of course, who else is known for doing beatbox elements inside their production? Timberland. Okay, that's his thing. So in that sense, he said, "Oh well, you're just trying to copy Timberland style because we use beatbox elements. Like that's stupid. Like." Now, no one is supposed to use beatbox elements, I get it if you're trying to rip someone's style, right? But if you listen to Timberland's tracks, every track sounds different. He doesn't have one that sounds the same, And that's what makes him a super producer, a super beat maker, Is that not only does he have his own style, but he doesn't repeat the same sound again, okay? So because he uses beatboxing elements and Rat Chopper used beatbox elements, apparently we were also trying to steal from Timberland. I thought that was ridiculous. I'm thinking, how the fuck can this be? So he goes on about his speech about how, I hear this on the radio already. I'm looking for something new. And I'm thinking to myself, like, whoa, hold on. That's the whole thing about this showcase, What they were looking for, the judges, the A&Rs, what they were looking for was, can it be played on the radio? Is it unique? But he kept saying, oh, well, we already heard this on the radio. I want something new. So I didn't really quite catch that in the beginning. But as I keep looking it back, I'm thinking that as an up-and-comer producer, it feels like we can't get signed if we be ourselves. And we can't get signed if we sound like someone else. Because here's the thing, right? With an up-and-comer beat maker, and you let me know if I'm wrong. Maybe I missed something, That's why I want you guys to help me out in this. Is that if an up-and-coming beat maker, right, wants to get signed, well, what are some of the requirements he has to make, right? Is that they have to sound like a hit, okay? Now, up-and-coming rappers want to get signed, so they also have to sound like they're a hit. So what do? What do these rappers do? Is that they copy songs that are out in the radio, right? Like that's why they'll get instrumentals from hit tracks, radio singles, and then they'll make their own remix to it. So what do they rap about? They rap about the same shit that's on the radio, which is money, women, and any materialistic things about how they don't care, about how they're rebellious and things like that. And it's the same shit. They're beating a dead horse. And they're not going to stop beating this dead horse until it puts out money. Right? Bo Burnham said the same shit. He has a skit. Go look it up. And it's true, right? So these up-and-coming rappers say, well, I want to be like the big dogs, so I got to make the same shit that they're making. So they go up to an up-and-coming beat maker, a local producer, whether it's online or local, right? And they'll ask him, listen, I want to make a hit. And then he tells them, I want to make a so-and-so track, right? So the beat maker says, okay, well, I also want to make a hit, so I need to work with an artist. So he makes whatever the artist wants, which is on the radio. Okay, the beat maker is influenced by what's on the radio. Then the A&R comes in, and then he tells them, listen, I like your work, but it's just I've heard it before. It doesn't sound unique. What you're playing for me, I've already heard it on the radio. I want something new. I don't want regurgitated things. And in that sense, he's right. As far as like putting out the same single over and over, it's just dressed differently, And so as a beat maker, you think to yourself, okay, well, if I want unique, I need to show him unique. So you play them some of your stuff, some of your style type of production. And then they say, I just don't hear it on the radio. Like what happened in the first year with us. I don't hear it on the radio. So I started thinking like, okay, well, what can a producer make? What can a beat maker make that is unique, but they can still hear it on the radio? And it goes down to the artist, okay? Because most of the artists want to mimic someone else's style. They either want to copy Wiz Khalifa or they want to copy Kendrick Lamar, because they see them and they're saying that's what they're doing and that's the style I'm gonna take. As soon as 2 Chainz came out, everybody started rapping like him. Like, just, that's what they were mimicking. Okay, then the beats changed, right? Not necessarily with him. He wasn't the cause of this. I'm just using him as an example, right? So I think that as a producer, and if you want to showcase your unique work and make it a hit, is you got to find the right artist to get on your tracks. You got to be on the same page. You can't just get any local rapper. You can make a quick buck or two right now, but in the long run, it'll pay off. And that's my opinion. I don't know. You guys let me know what you think, okay? Because if you're able to work with an artist and he's creative or she's creative, you know, and you work with that artist and then they work with you, you tailor your beats around their style and they tailor their style around your beats. So it's you guys work in harmony, you know? And so when you go present it and it's a hit, not only will it be unique and it will sound like it's on the radio, but when an A&R hears it, that's when they go, that's what I'm looking for. You know, I don't hear this on the radio, but I hear it on the radio. Do you get me? Like, that shit's confusing as fuck. And I don't understand, or at least I don't think that a lot of producers understand this concept, you know? Anyways, I've been rambling on for a little bit. You guys let me know what you think, okay? I'm gonna cut this short. But anyways, so I'm thinking of doing this podcast for like maybe, I don't know, I really want to go for a long time, right? I'm searching for longevity. So depending on how the initial podcast goes and the feedback I get, and, you know, maybe I'll do like 10 more and see where it goes. I'll either keep going or I'll stop. But I want to hear you guys' opinions. What do you guys think about this? You know, about how an artist should work with a producer and not necessarily mimic, you know, or copy someone else's style? Or should a beat maker just say fuck it and wish for all the best? Let me know what you guys think. Later.